Ever wonder why so many cases of the measles and the mumps keep cropping up? These are pretty much old world diseases, and yet they're still here. We've all at one point recently asked ourselves, why? And the answer is the anti-vax movement. Most of us have been vaccinated. We all remember going for the booster shot for the chickenpox and more recently the HPV vaccine. However, the CDC website shows a steady decline of children between 19 and 32 months old receiving their shots. These vaccines are extremely important, and not just for young children alone. Without herd immunity, anyone who is immunocompromised is at serious risk for catching these diseases. Currently, there's a strong movement within our world that is against vaccines. To combat this, we need to educate the masses on why immunizations are so important and spread awareness. So, how did the anti-vaccine gain such ground? And where did it come from? The anti-vax movement has been around for as long as vaccines have. However, within the last few decades, they've become far more prominent due to the rise of the internet age, where rumors and misinformation spread like the diseases themselves. The New York Times states, and I quote, "The constituents who made up the so-called anti-vaccine come from the disparate groups and include anti-government libertarians, apostles of the all-natural, and parents who believe that doctors should not dictate medical decisions about children." With the rise of the movement, vaccine rates are down, threatening herd immunity. Ironically enough, herd immunity is used as an anti-vaccine staple. Well, if everybody else is vaccinating, my kid won't get sick. The problem with that is for herd immunity to be achieved, vaccine rates typically need to be 93 to 95%. The CDC reports that the vaccine rates for measles, mumps, and rubella slipped nationally to 94.3%, and this is the third year in a row it's dropped. According to the World Health Organization, from January 2019 through September 2019, 1,234 cases of measles had been reported in the United States. Not only is the anti-vax movement deadly to those with compromised immune systems, but they also spread false information about autism, causing parents to put their children and so many others at risk in fear of causing their children to become autistic. This belief was born in 1998 when Andrew Wakefield, a gastroenterologist, published a Lancet study associating the measles, mumps, and the MMR vaccines with autism. The case has since been disproven and discredited. Yet that still hasn't stopped people from believing. Medical News Today even states, and I quote, "Ethical violations, conflicts of interest, and other errors in the study led to many discrediting it." It's also worth noting that this study only had 12 children in it. Understanding how these people think is important because now we can ask ourselves, what do we do now? Vaccination rates need to go back up in order to maintain the quality of life we as people are used to living. Education is the first step in getting back to fully eradicating these diseases and raising our herd immunity. Percentage backup. The WHO states the anti-vaccine movement has been a problem since the time of Jenner. The best way in long term is to refute all wrong allegations at the earliest opportunity by providing scientifically valid data. Healthcare officials are the front line in our steps towards proper vaccine rates. Arming them with the right information and how to properly present is critical. Healthy Debate says that physicians should start with motivational interviewing, which is a method that is used to discuss parents' concerns in a non-judgmental way and isolate the parents' exact concerns. Raising awareness can better help people understand as well. If you can appeal to someone and get them to understand and not just through facts, they're more than likely to vaccinate. Speaking out against those who have been misinformed can also slow the anti-vax movement as well. Court states that, and I quote, "Research demonstrates social consensus, informed in part by peers and others by parents, is also an effective element in conversations that shape decisions." We also need to be on top of social media, making sure that misinformation is properly dealt with. Physician Raul Parga had this to say to CNN, Pinterest and Twitter have recently taken steps to negate anti-vaccine messages on their networks, while Facebook has done the same by rolling out educational pop-up windows that appear on vaccine-related groups and pages or in search for vaccine-related content and hashtags. In doing so, doing our part to stop misinformation, face-to-face or online, we can step up our game and get everyone vaccinated. Unfortunately, if we continue to see a decline of immunizations, we will also see an unprecedented rise in the cases of diseases and death. The CDC gave this example as to what will happen if we stop vaccinating. In 1973, about 80% of Japanese children were getting the whooping cough vaccine. That year, only 393 cases of whooping cough in the entire country, and not a single whooping cough death. The immunization rates began to drop until only about 10% of children were being vaccinated, and in 1979, more than 13,000 people got whooping cough and 41 died. When routine vaccination was resumed, the disease numbers dropped again. Already, we have hotspots throughout America, creating an unsafe environment, and UNICEF states that if we continue down this path, we could see the return of whooping cough and diphtheria. We could soon find ourselves battling epidemics of disease we thought we had conquered decades ago. If we get our vaccination rate back up, we won't have to worry about these diseases, and they will go back to being highly rare. The CDC states, and I quote, "Nearly everyone in the US got measles before there was a vaccine, and hundreds died each year. Today, most doctors have never seen a case of measles. Vaccinations work, and together we can continue the proper momentum of getting rid of them just as we did polio." These diseases are back, and they might be back for good. Getting everyone to vaccinate is extremely important, as it will solidify our herd immunity, protecting immunocompromised people and infants who aren't yet ready for their immunizations. People and infants who, if we can continue to educate, spread awareness, and shut down misinformation, we might yet stand a chance. So speak out. If you see or hear someone giving false information out, inform them, teach them, and do your research. But most importantly, vaccinate your children. I literally cannot express this enough. Vaccinate your kids. It's honestly just that simple. And maybe, just maybe, we can see a world where these diseases just don't exist.